Your first Waitangi Day as Prime Minister, and I described yesterday as being ridiculously happy compared to previous years. What's the feedback you're getting as you wander about the north?
Yeah, really warm, but with a huge amount of expectation that comes with that, and I feel that too. So I feel as though everyone's giving our team a chance, but that means that we have to deliver on that as well. But overall, it's been I'd say an incredibly moving few days, actually. Yeah.
Yesterday you said it felt perhaps historic to have National Day. You made a nod to Stephen Joyce. Do you think on days like Waitangi Day that there perhaps should be a bit more cross-party work?
Yeah, well, look, I can't see why not. Ultimately, though that's often been the decision of those who organise the day and the commemorations, but, I welcome that opportunity. Perhaps it's because, we're in the position of being government. But there was something about the ability of all of us to come on together that I think really spoke volumes as well about what hopefully we can achieve, that Waitangi will be a day where we speak frankly with one another, and we should be able to do that all on the pai together.
On that note, a large number of New Zealanders don't really see the relevance of Waitangi Day. They don't connect with it from a bunch of reasons. How do you make Waitangi Day more relevant to those New Zealanders? Yeah,
I think that's a really good question. I was reflecting yesterday on the first time I came here. I was a child, and I knew about the treaty and the treaty grounds because of my father. It was important to him. He loved history. He wanted us to know the stories of New Zealand. But other than that, really, it was until late in my schooling that I really spent much time learning about the treaty. And some New Zealanders, some children don't get that at all. So I do think that there is a responsibility on us to make sure that we are using our education system. That's one of the easiest ways we can make sure that there's that understanding of why our National Day is so important and why it's so important we continue to commemorate it, because it is not just a piece of history. It is the foundation of our country, and it also guides our relationships going forward.
Do you think it is just a generational thing?
Yeah, I do actually. But even then, sitting in the whare today when we had the dawn ceremony and listening to the Navy and the Commissioner of Police and their use of te reo, it is generational, but there's also I think a real commitment to amongst other generations as well to be learning the language and learning our history as well. So it's all within each of our own capacity to do that.
Yesterday you drew a picture, an analogy between the wharenui where you've just come from the dawn service and the treaty house behind us, of the gap between those two, representing the gap between those at the bottom of the heap who are predominantly Māori, who are suffering those worst social statistics. A lot of people like that imagery in that picture. How do you take that from being a picture into being a closed gap?
Yeah, and I was literally just sitting waiting to speak when Kaumatua started speaking about the difference he saw in the buildings, and it occurred to me that how can we speak of the equality of a partnership while we have this divide, and it felt quite symbolic to then see it on the treaty grounds. And you're absolutely right, it's about now what do we do, and I've been asked what the policy name for anything like that would be. This government's view is that if you target poverty and poverty reduction, if you set goals around reducing our incarceration rates, because actually we have a plateauing and decreasing crime rate, so that should be attainable. And if you try and lift unemployment and educational attainment, by default you lift Māori. Because Māori are overrepresented in all of those areas. So yes, we have plans in each of those areas. We've already started on poverty reduction. And what I want to be able to do is then say specifically how that's benefited Māori. We don't have those numbers and statistics as clearly as we could. But that's our clear view, and those are the areas we want to target.
What's the first cab off the rank then, out of all of those things, health, education,
well,
that you've just mentioned?
Poverty we did last year, so that probably suggests that it's a real priority for us. And that's because so much hinges on that. If you look at the evidence, you want to make a difference to child well-being, material hardship and deprivation is where you go first. Now,
sorry, from talking to Ngāpuhi and the other iwi that you've seen over the last few days up here, how do you really put the rubber on the road for the north? Some of the worst social statistics we have are here in the north.
Yes, yep.
How do you change it?
Yeah, of course, what we've been talking about are the kinds of national changes that we're making that will make a difference to income disparity across the board, and it will make a difference here. But then there is such an obvious disparity with infrastructure, access to services, educational outcomes. So we've used this time, people have heard the 5 days we've spent up here. When I've been moving around over this period, I've seen chief executives from government departments meeting with mayors, meeting with iwi leaders. That's been the important conversation that we needed to happen. We've come away with ideas around tourism, around infrastructure. There are projects that we could be working on together, and now it's up to us over the next 12 months to kick them off.
You said yesterday you expected to be held to account.
Yes.
The CEOs and the officials and the like that you just mentioned, when do you start marking their scorecard?
Yes, actually that was, when the last government put out its Better Public Service targets, I think that was a way of squarely putting that accountability on the public service. We've taken a slightly different approach and said, well, all leadership starts with us. So I don't want to hide behind the veil of our public servants who ultimately serve whatever direction we set out. So I will always tell the people here in the north, the accountability sits with us.
So for your pōheri here onto the treaty grounds yesterday, for the dawn service today, and it looks like we're in for another cracking day here and on the treaty grounds, it has been incredibly positive and incredibly warm, certainly much different than I've experienced in the past. How long do you think that warm, positive, warm, fuzzy feeling is going to last?
As I say, I know there's a weight of expectation, and so you might have heard me talk about the fact that I still think that one of our values as a nation is our ability to speak frankly with one another, and I would always expect that throughout the year. If we've done something that disappoints people, we should be challenged on it, and Waitangi should be no exception. I think we should stop striving for perfection at the commemorations of our National Day. If people choose to use their voice on this day, that does not mean it is a failure. It does not mean the day needs to change or move. It just means that we're not complacent. We keep pushing for change and to be better, and we should celebrate our ability to be open about that. So
there should have been some more dissenting voice then.
I'm not going to complain. But if there is, it's not a sign of failure. It's a sign of strength. And so I welcome the day that we've had, these days we've had, but every Waitangi I've come and enjoyed, even if there has been some dissent.
Okay, well, we're all here at Waitangi. There are events all over the nation today, and that's something which has grown hugely in recent years. Just to finish off then, what is your message to the New Zealanders who aren't here at Waitangi today?
Oh, look, actually, if you have the opportunity, regardless of whether it's Waitangi Day or not, visit the treaty grounds. It's a phenomenal place. It's a beautiful place. The museum that's here, the work that's been done to give every New Zealander, and I understand that domestic tourists are the most popular here, the chance it gives everyone to share a little bit of piece of their history, our history, is well worth it. So please visit.
Okay, thank you.
Kia ora.